case my girlfriend's freak. She even poured Diet Coke in my tape deck.
Bummer. Man, you gotta give that girl the Heisman.
The Heisman? What's that?
You seen the trophy? The stiff arm treatment. Man, give her the Heisman.
Calm down. Everything's okay. It's only Uncle Hector. Yes, you should. Give that girl the Heisman. Give lots of people the Heisman. There's a lot of people in your life right now. They need to get the Heisman. Uncle Hector, what are you talking about? The Heisman. Do you watch college football? I watch college football. It's the only damn game other than baseball that holds any interest for me, although I will be watching the World Cup. I'm looking forward to that. And hockey is an interesting sport sometimes. If I got a dog in the fight, like Ron Mexico. Ron Mexico had a few dogs in the fight. And old number 7. And well, anyway, I don't know. I was thinking back to my days when I was in the days of my youth. I was shown what it means to be a man. I was a roadie going to school in Athens, Georgia, late 80s, early 90s. We did sound for all kinds of stupid bands. Some of them were really good, actually. Some of them were my heroes, bands that I really, really loved. I'm not going to go into all that at the moment. But I worked for this guy who owned a PA system, this great guy named Herb. And I was very fortunate to somehow he called me up one day and said, "Hey, man, you want to come help me do this thing?" And I'm like, all right, sure, why not? And then before I know it, I'm, roped into this musical journey. And there's lots of stories I could go into that, and I'm not going to get into all of them today because that would take all afternoon, and you don't have the patience for it, and I don't have it either. And I'm just going to tell you one small subset of interest from that time period. And I would say it would be around 1990, 1991. We did a lot of Athens bands, but there were also a lot of bands that would come from the Chapel Hill area, North Carolina. And Dylan Fence was one of those bands that we did a lot of sound for. I never did sound for the Sex Police, but they came through town a lot, and I liked them. I'm leaving a lot out. Anyway, there was this back then. I don't know if the older people here will remember this kind of thing. Back then, around early 90s, all of a sudden there was like this big thing in the music world where everybody, I think it had something to do with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then you had bands like Jane's Addiction and Fishbone and all that kind of stuff. This funk metal kind of thing took over, and so all of a sudden there were all these funk metal bands and funk metal adjacent, they kind of rapped, but they played, super loud distorted Marshall amps. And Follow for Now was another one. They were really good. we did sound for all these people when they would come to Athens and play. We did the fraternity party shows. That was mostly what we did. We did some club stuff, but it was mostly fraternity parties and private parties and stuff. It was a lot of fun. Best job I ever had. Worst job I ever had too. But you know, sometimes those things go hand in hand. You know, and hey, when you're a poor 20-year-old college student getting free beer and hanging out with your musical heroes, it's not a bad gig. And I'm consider myself blessed to have been able to do all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. And well, anyway, Herb called me one night. It was over the weekend. He's like, we got a gig on Tuesday night, and it's I don't remember exactly what night it was. I could look it up. I've documented all that stuff. But anyway, he's like, Tuesday night we're doing this show at the Yo Mama's Greek fraternity house, whatever, the ubiquitous Greek fraternity house, and it's this band called Johnny Quest. So I'll see you at 4:30 or whatever with the truck. And I'm like, okay, Johnny Quest, what the hell is that? I vaguely remembered the term Johnny Quest from like that 60s speed racer thing or whatever. It was some kind of like Japanese anime sort of cartoon show or something. I don't know. I had no idea who these guys were. And this is before the days of ye old internet, right? So this is several years before the information superhighway, as we used to call it, had taken hold. And I noticed in the local flagpole magazine, I'm not putting them down, I'm just saying, the local paper, the gospel of what was going on that week in Athens, Georgia. Johnny Quest was headlining at the Georgia Theater. It's probably the largest, live music venue in Athens. Pretty much, similar in size to the 40 Watt at that time, but I think it was, I don't know, probably a little bit bigger because it used to be an old movie theater and stuff. I don't know. But they were playing there, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go down there. This is like a Sunday night when they were playing. I'm like, I'm going to go down there and check out who this band is that I'm getting myself involved with. Do a little reconnaissance, And I get there, and lo and behold, yes, it's a funk metal band, like real heavy shit. And as soon as they get up on stage, none of them are wearing shirts. They're all tennis shoes and shorts. And they immediately start into this craziness, like you just heard in my intro. And that was their song. They had this 7-inch or single that they put out on college radio, and it went bananas. It was called the Heisman. And as soon as they started playing, and the place was packed, and there's like an orchestra pit, because it's like an old movie theater kind of thing. And all of us, as soon as they started playing, they're playing like at this massive volume. And as soon as they start, there's like 100 drunk fraternity assholes standing right in front, and they just turn it into a massive, crazy mosh pit. And everybody is beating the shit out of each other, throwing this beer flying in the air. There's all kinds of shit. People are trying to jump on stage and stage dive and all this crap, and I'm literally, I've got my head in my hands, and I'm going, oh my God, this is what I have to deal with. Except here at the Georgia Theater, there's like a, I don't know, 5-foot stage. It kind of keeps people off and out of trouble or whatever for me, so I don't have to worry about. But a lot of these fraternities, they've only got, some of them don't even have stages, and if they do, some of them are, maybe only a foot tall. And I'm envisioning all these people going absolutely apeshit, and it's me being the stage manager by myself, and so it's going to be my job to get these people off the stage, half of whom are going to be women. not actually women. They're not really women. They're girls. They're like 18-year-old girls, and they're drunk as hell. And not only do I have to get them off the stage, I can't throw them off the stage. What's going to happen if Uncle Hector takes an 18-year-old drunk girl and tosses her off the stage in front of 100 drunk, horny frat guys? What's going to happen to Uncle Hector? I'll let you use your imagination. Well, anyway, it doesn't really matter. But I went to this show and I thought, my God, my goose is cooked. I better eat my Wheaties. I got to prep for this. I got to be strong. And I can't remember what fraternity house we did that show at. And I was scared to death. And then going into this thing, I'm like, and that other thing, their music was really brash and loud and obnoxious, and I'm like, these guys are going to be a bunch of dicks. And because for the most part, most of the people that we did sound for, they were pretty cool. But I was like, these guys are just going to be total jerks. And lo and behold, they ended up being the nicest guys I've ever worked with. They were wonderful. I absolutely loved all of them. And I used to stand on the on stage left, I guess, and that would be that's where Jack, the bass player, would play. He had like some, one of those 8x10 Ampeg amps, with it's just the most. It's the size of a fucking refrigerator, and it's just massively loud. Weighs about 500 pounds. And so what I would do, the way I still have good hearing, despite having been a stage manager for all kinds of loud bands, I would stand next to the bass rig to the side of it, and it would not only it was loud, but it didn't blast into your ears, and it kind of blocked the cymbals from the drums, because that brittleness can really mess up your ears too. But anyway, so I got to know Jack pretty good. He was the oldest one. He was like 33 or 34. And I remember thinking he was an old man. How back then, when you're 20 years old, you think somebody that's 12 years older than you is like this ancient, like grandpa, And he was a great guy. He really was. And still is, I'm sure. And Joe Farmer was the singer, and he was freaking crazy. And he was kind of a quiet guy, but he was very nice too. I thought he must be some kind of complete asshole. No. He was a great guy. Bill was the metal guitar playing dude. He was super laid back and very nice. And Steve was the drummer, and he was cool as hell too. And we did sound for them. We ended up doing sound for them tons of times. And I went from being completely scared to work with these people to loving every time I would hear a message from Herb saying that we're going to work with them. and they were huge Braves fans. And I remember being at the ATO house at Georgia Tech one night, and it was when the Braves. It was during the World Series, I think, in '91, and we were up in one of the fraternity members' rooms or whatever, and they had a TV, and they gave us like a case of beer. We're all sitting in there. Usually, they were like, they kept knocking on the door and coming in and going, "When are y'all going on?" And Joe would just say, "We're going on as soon as the fucking game is over. Leave us alone." And that's what we did. And we waited until Sid Bream did his fucking score or whatever and won that game. And then and only then were any of us going down there to conduct this gig as it should be. So anyway, that's a long way of saying give that girl the Heisman. If you see a million red flags, I'm not going to get into the whole red pill shit. Other people do that much better than me. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying, don't let people abuse you. I went a long time in my life putting up with a bunch of bullshit from people. I put up with it from. It wasn't just like people that were bullying in school or whatever. Everybody's gonna, no matter who you are, there's always going to be some bigger guy who's going to bully you. So everybody gets bullied. And yeah, you stick up for yourself and you punch them in the nose eventually, and they'll leave you alone. But what gets harder is when it's people that you love, and then there are people that are in family, friends, like really good friends of yours. And it might not even become apparent to you until, you're like in your 30s or 40s, and then you realize that, somebody's treating you like crap. You don't have to put up with that. And I'm not saying just immediately, cut somebody off and do something horrible to them. I'm not saying that at all, but you need to start questioning it. And I'll tell you another thing. I don't have a whole lot of regrets in my life, but I'll tell you what, one of the things I do regret is my employment situation. I was good at what I did. I was the best. There was never anybody as good at doing what I was doing than me. And yet, when it would come annual raise time, I'm not saying every year and not talking about every boss, but I remember a couple of years, I knew I just kicked ass. I did some amazing things. I finished some projects single-handedly. Well, not single-handedly, but it wasn't for me. That wouldn't have happened. And you get to this annual raise thing, and it's like, well, we gotta, times are tough in the economy, and, we gotta ratchet things down a little bit. Let me tell you something. If you do not receive an annual raise that at a minimum keeps up with your local rate of inflation, not only are you falling behind, you are being penalized. The dollar that you bring home, well, yeah, they give you a 2% raise. Yeah, well, what if the damn inflation rate is 5%? You've lost net 3%. Have you ever thought about that? And I know it sucks. It sucks having to go find another job. It's trust me, that nobody knows that better than me. I hate it. I absolutely freaking hate it. But it used to be a bad thing to job hop. We used to call people job hoppers, and I remember thinking negatively of those people too. They would come and work at our company for like 6 months and then they go off to the next thing or whatever. And thinking, well, those guys are just complete jerks. Well, now I look back on it and go, well, they were the only damn smart people among us. I mean, yeah, there were some people that ended up staying long term at places and they did great with their careers, and good for them. I mean, they deserve it. They really do. I'm not saying that everybody gets fucked. I'm just saying you weren't born to be a slave. And you don't have to put up with it anymore. There's plenty of places you can go work. And you can find out all about them on the internet. Are most of them shit? Yeah. But if you're really good at what you do, you shouldn't put up with any guff from any fucking boomer boss. Fuck them. Take control of your destiny. You've got some control over it. You don't have 100% control. You never will. But God, do not just sit there and go, well, just do the thing and, it'll take care of itself. Bullshit. They will keep dumping more and more work on you because you always get it done. And as soon as you start slowing down, they'll be like, Uncle Hector, why are we paying him X amount of money when we could just hire, Brian from Calcutta. He works for $35 an hour. Yeah, we can't tell. We don't know what the hell he's saying on the phone, but sometimes he actually he creates something that kind of does what we're asking him to do, and he gets 2/3 of the way as close as Uncle Hector did. Well, Uncle Hector could get it done in one day, but Brian, he can get it done. It takes him 10 days. Costs the same, but hey, we don't have to pay fringe benefits on it, Fuck all those people. That's my point. Fuck them all. You are not a slave. You don't have to have 2 cars. You don't have to live in a McMansion. You put a roof over your head. If you want to have kids, have kids. You do not have to live like a king. You do not have to live like your neighbors. You do not have to you don't need all this shit. And don't let your employer fool you into you need more and 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 more to be happy. Fuck being happy. You can be happy knowing you have a roof over your head and food in your belly. I got air conditioning. I got running water. My kids live in a safe neighborhood. What else do you need? What else do you want? What else is really important? Going to see Taylor Swift and paying, $2,000 a fucking ticket? Going to Disney World? Fuck all that. Get your priorities straight, man. I don't know. That's about all I have to say, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing it already. So I'm done. Call me.